What can you actually expect from this webinar? Well, we have chosen to give it a top-down approach. And we will be starting out with the first speaker, who is Eva van der Noort, who will be presenting this strategic overviewing from Microsoft and how they view their business of the food industry and how they focus on the food industry. And especially also with very much interest for the basis for all our food solution, which is the Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. And Microsoft on this platform has a very large customer base of around 116,000 users. The next speaker today will be Robert Emmon, who will be representing Foodwire by Aptean, which is a company, again, solely focused on food and beverage industry. And also in this case here, the customer base that we are referring to is solely food and beverage. Robert will be taking us through some excellent slides and showing something about their solution and how they go around it and which branches they serve. In the end, there will be me. My name is Henrik Helund. I am representing Notora, and I will give you a more technical overview of how we work with these solutions, how to expect these solutions to be working in the futures, what to do with the current technology that we have at hand. The agenda for today, like I just told you, the welcome and introduction have we just passed. So that said, I would very much like to give the word to Eva. Eva, please.
Yes, thank you very much. So my name is Eva van der Noort, and I am a partner development manager at Microsoft. And both Notora and Aptean have asked me to join this webinar to tell a bit about our vision on digital transformation, and that also specifically in the food industry. Henrik, I wanted to check if you've made me presenter so I can move the slides.
I have.
Yes, I see them moving very quickly now. So this is my deck. Thanks. So a brief introduction around Microsoft. As you might know, our mission statement is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. We actually try to focus on different industries, but for this specific section and this specific presentation, I want to give you a glimpse on the industry trends we see in food, how we capture digital transformation in this industry, and what Microsoft is offering. At the end of my short presentation, I will give you a reference case that's coming from Denmark. The industry trends we see are probably very familiar to you, but I want to touch base on some of them. Is in this case angled towards the agriculture. When we are mapping industry trends, we see that there are so many angles to look at those. So for this specific presentation, I used the ones for agriculture. I think all around Europe for agriculture, we can relate to the increased popularity of personalized diets, but also the transparency in the food and supply chain we want. Reasoning for that can be regulatory requests, dietary needs, or sustainability regions. I think also what you can see here, food security comes up a lot more. We use more and more the themes around climate, waste, and water. These are the industry trends I would like to look at when we talk about digital transformation. Microsoft is classifying 3 different sections in agriculture. The production, the process, and the consumer. And in all those 3 sections, there are a lot of things we can digitize, optimize, and connect to each other. The reasoning why I'm actually specifically calling out optimizing and connectivity is because we see that in the past and still even today, in all these 3 sections, a lot of the processes are siloed, meaning that every department has their own silos with their own IT, but also with their own data. The digital transformation opportunity, and specifically tied to the topics of the webinar of today, are to make sure that we are talking about the power of the platform, meaning that we bring everything together and that we break through the silos. As you can see in this slide, it's connecting the different departments within a company, including the different processes, and therefore you have the capability to end-to-end have visibility, to analyze, to take actions, but also to optimize and more easily create transparency across those silos. When we talk about digital transformation, we often use the pillars to engage your customers, to empower your employees, to optimize your operations, and to transform your products. If I would look at examples in the agriculture business, a way could be, for example, if you know what the end customer is requesting from you at your R&D department, you could better adapt everything you're developing towards what the customer wants. And that might seem like a very easy win and like something you could quickly turn around to. However, we do see that often we make decisions based on parts of the data or based on knowledge of people that are a longer time within a company. However, if we would want to make those a decision based on data, there is a lot of territory to gain to get transparency into that data. For Microsoft, we try to offer a technology platform where our customers can bring everything together to be able to execute on those pillars of digital transformation and to reinvent processes, but also we see business models. And I think later on in the presentation, we will tap into that a little bit more. This is actually a visual that showcases the best what we are trying to achieve together with Aptian and Notora is that, but also with other partners and customers, that we try to create intelligent systems where we have everything from the employees to the products to the operations and the operational engines connected also to what the customer wants and what the customer needs. I have brought in some examples we have seen in the past in the agriculture where we have specifically used parts of our technology to handle cases based on customer requests. And I think some of these examples might be familiar to you all as well. So for example, traceability of food. I think Robert in his presentation will also focus a little bit of that. Factories of the future, being able to include your IoT data in your current platforms to be able to create real-time and actionable insights for the people that are in the factory actually doing the work. Another great example we have heard about a lot is creating a digital farm where you have a lot of IoT capabilities to be sure that the farmer has more insights to base their decision on than they can do with their employees or with their own resources. I brought in a case study that is actually coming from Denmark because I thought it was nice to link a local example. Unfortunately, we are not able to play the video with sound in this webinar, but we will make sure that after the webinar, you will be able to see the video and you will receive it over email. In the Carlsberg, I will play the video and in the meantime tell a little bit about the case. Yes. So in the Carlsberg example, it actually comes down a little bit to the parts I mentioned before. They wanted to have, oh, I don't think it's even playing. It's starting now. So they wanted to have a good relationship with their end users, which in their case are the beer drinkers, of course. And they wanted to have better transparency and a relationship with their customers, which are the beer sellers or beer resellers. But also very importantly, they wanted to have a unified experience for their employees that is fully digitized. The landscape that Carlsberg has created has brought all those ambitions together. And as you see now in the video, is that they were having a scattered IT strategy because of company acquisition, but also because of different departments within the company. And they brought that all together to the Microsoft platform. And what you see, not only in this video, but in general, is that what Microsoft is offering with Dynamics, but also with Azure and with Office 365 are generic platforms on which we have partners that build capabilities that are specifically for industries like food, but we also have partners that do that for banking or for retailers. It's all specified towards industries together with partners. And that is actually also what Epsian and Notora are doing with Dynamics 365 and with the foodware solution. And I think Robert will take it over to tell a little bit more about that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that, Eva. I don't know, Henrik, if you already made me able to well, continue to the next slide.
That is on its way.
All right,
there
thank you. So, well, maybe first to start up, hopefully pronouncing it right. God eftermiddag, alle samen. So I try to learn a bit Danish, but let's just start.
Nice going.
All right. So let me tell you a bit of an introduction about who we are as a business, because I could imagine that there are some unclarities, because prior we were always known as Schouw Informatisering. But nowadays we have been acquired in November last year. So just to get, well, a little bit of confusion out of the way regarding to that. All right. So I'm trying to work it out. All right. So I've prepared a presentation as well. So some slides Schouw and part of the Epsian group. So when I talk about Schouw, I talk about the Dutch entity. For your clarity, the entire food and beverage solution that we have built and that we are going to build in the future will be done in the Netherlands. One of the reasons why we chose for that is because Dutch IT businesses are quite known for doing solid development and also for listening a lot to the market. So to check the industry will help us increase the solution and the functionality to support your processes. I think that's the most important thing why we are here and what our goal is, to support your processes of your food business. So what we do is we are both in the Netherlands alone, but also abroad, of course. So here you see 130 employees. That's solely in the Netherlands. Besides that, we have 400 employees with other offices across the globe that are part of the group. We use a lot of partners as well, which Notora is one of our partners, the only partner in Denmark that we have. And the reason why we do that, well, I will go more later on that, but the reason why we do that is because there is a lot of local knowledge needed to help businesses within, for example, in this case, Denmark, the best. We have a standard food knowledge, but there are some local legislation, some localizations needed, maybe some laws required that are typical for Denmark, but not as typical for the Dutch market. What we call our platform is Foodware 365. So Foodware 365 utilizes a lot of technologies that Microsoft provides to us as a partner. So one of the typical, I think, very known tools is, of course, the Dynamics suite, but also business intelligence. Business intelligence is actually just a conversion from data to information, because data is useful, but it's only useful when you can convert it to information, when you can take actions from the data and from the information that you have gathered in your solution. All right, having said that, a brief background. You will receive the slides afterwards because I don't want to spend too much time on this part. We are with 15 VARs, as we call it, so value-added resellers. So that are the partners network. We have 20 countries which we are active in. I think in the meanwhile it's even 20 plus. We have over 300 customers with footwear alone. So with Schouw alone, but with the 900 customers based across the entire globe. And 7,000 daily users, all created by one global ISV, so one global software creator, which is in Etteleur, the Netherlands. So what I always would like to do is to not talk a lot about IT. I think I've done quite a bit about it, but I want to talk about your business. I think that's the most important thing. What do we see within your market? So I've picked some industry challenges which I think are quite common for the past half year already. So on the laptop, I think Eva already made a short introduction about its traceability. So I've spoken to a prospect once who said that they had received coffee from Kenya, which eventually had a label on it, which stated Germany. So that specific prospect delivered to a supermarket, and I think a lot of food businesses are aware that it's not a good idea to make mistakes when supplying a supermarket. So they lost that customer, so they lost that supermarket because of one tiny error. I think one of the important thing is to be accurate with this, and this also refers back to data, but this also, I think the biggest part is the traceability. You want to be able to provide insights to on every aspect on the supply chain if needed. And to a lot of the customers nowadays, I know that you have a milking brand in the Netherlands that even states from the name of the cow of the milk that you're drinking. But customers like the story about traceability as well. They like to know that they're purchasing goods that are responsible, for example. I think traceability also has a connection with, on the right top, legislation, law and legislation. So I think nowadays laws getting more strict about where are the goods coming from. I think especially because people get more aware as well. People realize that in the past maybe not everything went so well within the entire industry. So that considers quite some change of us as a food business as well. I think the third part is one quite common as well within food, and that's the pressure on margins. Everybody is quite aware that in the food industry, you need to maximize your efficiency because people want to get top products, preferably for the lowest price. So you need to be very efficient because everybody in the supply chain as well needs to make their own margin. And if you sell a product for, I don't know, 7 Danish crown, you need to be very efficient with all the steps in your supply chain to make a profit on this. Another challenge that we see is the supply chain itself. So where does it go? You see quite some integrations going on. You see some parts of the supply chain gaining more power, and maybe that's your business itself, but then sometimes it isn't you. So how do you deal with that? How can you provide that you are still that you can't be missed in the supply chain itself as your business? So how do you make yourself unique for your customers? And the last thing, which I think is important always, is quality. I have a tiny anecdote about quality. So I know that a colleague of mine told me once that 20 years ago in the Netherlands, they still smoked cigarettes in the factories for where our food was produced. So the step of that in 20 years to the strictness and the law and legislation regarding to quality now, for me, it predicts a lot for where it is going for the future. People being more aware, people want their goods to be of high quality as well. And I think this will be improved. This will be increased importance over the years even more. So having said some challenges, I will also try to give you some things that we see how we can tackle those. But first, maybe just to get some clarification on where these challenges could happen. So I'm trying to click to the next slide, but all right. So what we see is beside our own target industry, but what we also see is that all these challenges occur in the entire supply chain. It starts with the growers. So it starts with people who creating your raw materials maybe, or even your business yourself. It already starts there that you need to start tracking and tracing your goods. So that's one example for the entire supply chain. So traceability when it's applied to all the businesses within the supply chain. And if you as a business are in the middle, you want to be able to provide your end customer as well to track back till maybe the farmer. So so you are able to sustain your position in the middle, maybe in the supply chain as well. What we do is we support the entire supply chain. So what we always call from farm to fork or from field to fork, we are able to help every business in the supply chain. Having said that, so within the food, we always make a distinguishment between different industries as well. So we help businesses within cheese, but also within fresh produce, for example, which fresh produce most of the times have a very short shelf life, which makes a requirement that you need to be fast with your production, you need to be fast with all your planning, you need to be flexible with your entire business because you have such a short shelf life. So that's an example of a short shelf life, but short shelf life product. But you also have businesses with long shelf life. Think about chocolate, cacao can last for over a year, for example. Those processes are way different than a business with a short shelf life product, which requires thinking of your IT vendor as well. We need to think along in what business are you? So what are your typical struggles? How can we help with that? And that's why we make a distinction between, well, yes, industries, but I think more between shelf life. All right, so briefly about that. And now I want to check how can we solve some of the issues that we have within IT. So within food. So one, for example, traceability. I think one of the things for traceability, what is important is for end consumers is a story behind it, but also the proof and for them to be able to sell the product that they feel comfortable with as well. So you want to get that 100% covered within every process you do, every production cycle that you do. You want to be able to trace all the goods completely. And that's something that we, of course, will help you with as a business. Another thing that I've mentioned earlier was, of course, the quality part. I've made the example of smoking, well, while doing production in food businesses, which was quite common 20 years ago in the Netherlands. So I think it will be, and for the future as well, will be one of the most highlighted topics within our industry. I think people will become more and more aware of what they eat. And I think quality is a huge aspect, a huge parameter in that as well. So what we want to do and make sure for you is that you get your quality checks okay, that you are able to provide the quality that you promise to your business. Because every food business have had it in the past that they either didn't receive the right quality or they didn't provide the right quality. And you want to prevent those mistakes to happen as a business, because anticipate is better than react. Another thing which I mentioned is the pressure on margins, and the pressure on margins, I want to relate that also to the supply chain, which I mentioned earlier. So the pressure on margins is quite easy to tackle with one statement, that is data. Data is able to provide you proactive information. So sometimes we have a customer who predicts to certain customers of them what they need for the next upcoming period. Because of data, they have made an intellectual module that predicts ask of demand for the end customer. which I think you will distinguish yourself with your supply chain if you can do that. If you can tell your customer, if you can relieve them of that work of checking what do they need this week. If you can tell them, all right, we suspect on data, this and this is what you will need next week. You will be a quite valuable link to your end customer as well. Furthermore, with supply chain, it's also integration. So I think integration could be both in acquiring, but also non-acquiring and providing a service. So Eva already mentioned the Carlsberg towards the end customer. Did they want to have some integration with that? But what we also did is for example, a grower portal, which we will help all the farmers, which are most of the time not that into IT, to make it easy for them to do some predictions about what they're going to deliver to the customer and which price they want and which cost they made. So you want to make their life easy as well, because the more easy you make life for a supply chain or your end customer, the more value you will add to your own business. So having said that, I think the final topic which I want to stand up before I will give it before I will talk a bit more technology and then I will hand over to Henrik, is legislation. So one of the reasons why we work with local partners, as mentioned before, is the legislation. We are not able with 140 people to get track of all laws and legislation in all the countries that we serve. Of course, we are aware of the legislation in Europe, the main legislation in Europe. We are aware of the legislation in the world, but it still has some slight deviations for each country. And I think that sincerely is one of the added values of a local partner, besides the cultural, besides the language as well. Or, oh, I was a bit too fast on that. All right, so what kind of businesses do we help? So I've mentioned earlier that we make a distinguishment between short and long shelf life. And I think you're able to see it quite good in this one. So these are some of the names within the Netherlands or abroad that we serve with our solution and that we helped to think along and to create more efficiency in their processes. So I think a familiar name for everybody should, well, maybe isn't completely, but should be Yakult, for example, or Domino's. But also maybe Merba, the creator of the chocolate chip cookie. So those are just some customers in our portfolio, which we help on a daily basis to check and improve processes. And then I think, so what is more convenient for you to know is how we do that. So we do that, of course, as Eva mentioned, with the digital transformation and the power of the platform of Microsoft. So Microsoft provides us with an endless amount of tools which we can utilize. So what we always create is this module of Microsoft, and we make it a little bit more applicable to us. So in the middle, of course, we have one of the most important things for us is the ERP or Dynamics Business Central, Dynamics 365. So the ERP for us is the foundation to build on top on. So we build most of it in extensions. Another thing that I think is within almost every office nowadays is the Office 365 suite. So Office 365 nowadays communicates directly with the ERP system. So you're able to create an order without even entering your ERP, but just with your Office account, which is quite convenient and will save you a lot of time as well. Furthermore, we have some of the intelligence, what I said. So the data towards transformation, Power BI, but also Cortana intelligence provided by Microsoft. It will recognize your customer. It will recognize the products if filled in correctly, which also saves you a lot of time on a daily basis even. And of course, Azure IoT, connect maybe skills, connect with maybe some manufacturing tools or such. But we do need to face the fact that we are not able to do everything ourselves. So yes, we also utilize some third-party products. Think about scanning. So those are just some things that we also know that we are not the best at, and we know that other businesses can focus more and are more experienced with helping businesses like you on that. Right, so let me just skip this one quick. So these are all the tools at this point that Microsoft provides to its partner. So this is quite a lot, and I think not all will ring a bell immediately, but the ones in the red we circled around are the ones that we utilize and we consider from our perspective will be relevant for the food industry. So for example, being able to open your ERP on your mobile device, or just to work with APIs, just to create more simplistic interfacing for you as a business, because that has always been a headache in the IT. And how can Microsoft simplify it? But also what I mentioned earlier, Power BI, a great data conversion tool towards information. And of course, Internet of Things, and it's a more common thing. So how can I connect some devices to each other? How can I get all the data from all the different devices saved in one big silo? As Eva mentioned before, we shouldn't think about separate silos anymore. We should think about one. And the last one, of course, access management and identify. So multi-factor authentication, you need to be secure as well. So these are also things that we need to take into account. We need to provide you with a secure environment. All right. Having said that, so this is one of the cases where we utilize this product and we really created something. So we have created an avocado case, and I will talk briefly about it, but please feel free to reach out to me or Henrik to get a more in-depth discussion about this later on. So we've created an avocado case, which we uploaded 1,000 photos or more towards the Azure cloud. And we did that to simplify the quality aspect. So what is the avocado case? The avocado case is used to check quality of avocado. So when is it rotten? When is it an avocado? When is it a pit? So we used infrared visions to check and to see what is what within an avocado. So what is rotten and what is a decent quality of avocado. And it automatically is able to scan based on all the different types of avocados that we uploaded to the cloud to pick out the decent ones and also the bad ones. And the bad ones will automatically create a non-conformance towards your supplier as well. So this is all done automatically, which saves you time, but this will also make you more accurate about your quality, which I mentioned earlier, which will gain importance in the upcoming years even more. All right. Having said that, hopefully it was within my time. I was a little bit long, so my apologies for that. I want to give the word back to Henrik to give you more of the final value added aspects of Notora as your local partner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you for your fine presentation. I will be the one who takes a bit more technology approach, but I would also like to start out with a short presentation of Notora for those of you who does not know us. Notora was founded in 2013, and basically this was done because that we felt that there was a need for an ERP partner in the Danish market that was solely focused on the food industry. Having said that, we also serve clients outside the food industry, but almost 80% of our clients comes from food. 60% of our clients comes directly from the food industries, being producers, and 20% from trades and logistics, selling foods. The last 20% comes from medicine, healthcare, and produce to order. And again, we could call some of that food industry as well, because some of the producers actually produce manufacturing machinery for food industry. We like to think of ourselves as being experts in ERP. We also like to think of ourselves as being very good at bringing a good service to the market, and we collaborate with the best. And here we both think of customers and our other suppliers and vendors and colleagues, and the two you just met, of course, as well. Some clever words to start with. These are not mine. These are the Chief Executive Officers of Microsoft, Satya, who said that every company is actually a technology company. And he stated that in the Microsoft Annual Report 2019. And this has a huge focus. We very much consider his words when we take new prospects in, start working with new clients. How we build our technology, what we do with the technology is very much founded around what Microsoft puts out there as a platform and also as a strategy. What we also would like to do is that we like to have the same approach as Microsoft. We very much want to become a partner with you as a client that works with you, not making you dependent on us. We actually want you to be independent of both us and the technology that we provide. So what is it that actually goes on here? Well, first of all, we have seen a shift in the market. And this particular slide here I have learned from McKinsey, who did an analysis of the markets looking at which producers or which developers in the market had the highest focus on producing low-code software, meaning software that you yourself can use or utilize in your company without knowing anything about hard hand coding. And the good thing is that on that chart, Microsoft pops up very, very nicely in the leaders quadrants. And we're very, very happy about that because Microsoft has spent the last couple of years focusing on transforming almost all of their products from being monoliths with a huge code base, where we have all the necessary coding within one silo. We then started 2 years ago breaking that up into smaller silos, but still being silos, until now we actually have the Business Central platform on which the foodware is based, which is all an app. So if we look at the way that the solution now is working, we see apps on apps that do independently work, not even necessarily on the same framework, not even necessarily coded in the same language, but due to a common API, they speak together and we see them as one. So this has been a huge technology step going forward in this industry, and we have seen some massive improvements here, and Microsoft has been leader in this quadrant, producing new software that actually makes us able to do proprietary implementations at client sites without actually putting your business and your should we say without locking you down to a software solution, without actually taking you as a prisoner of the technology that we implement. The way that Microsoft has done this is, of course, like most of you know, by introducing the Office 365 platform. And this is what they call the periodic table of 365. And I actually find that very interesting because we didn't used to think of Nav or the Business Central as a part of the Office 365, but now it is. And through this common language, the common data service model that actually ties all these products together, these systems are now able to talk to each other. So we can take all the elements, and I think there's just about 200 elements out there right now, and we can link them and make them a part of your system. We can make them one. We can make you see them as one, we can make them see each other, we can have data being transparently moved from one system to another without you doing anything at all. Or of course you have to initiate. Typically what you have to what would you like to do, would like to make an invoice, we'd like to do an inventory pick and so forth. But basically we can make this solution very transparent. And this has been a beautiful solution Microsoft has developed, and we are looking very much forward to work with this and to work with our clients on these platforms in the future. Because what we also see is that we see, like this we stated earlier in this presentation, that data is easy to capture, but actually making it into or turning it into an information, that's something completely different. What we also see now is that we see systems that we can make proprietary and still keep you on a standard platform due to the fact that we are able to combine all these products together. And this also means that no two users are the same, and we can still keep these systems as one system, but provide two different sets of informations to different users. Going forward, we will see a dramatic shift in the way that we present data. And this means that now we have actually freed us from the physical platform by making everything an app. We will now move all the data around and start seeing them in the places where the people actually work. We will move data to the ones that actually creates them, and thereby making you as a company much more efficient. Going forward, we will also see a much tighter integration to the CDS system, which means that when you actually create new users, when you apply licenses, you do it in one system. You don't actually separate one system for the office application, one for the business application, one for your CRM. It's all going to be the same. And this is also a huge improvement, and also both a lifesaver and a time saver within the company. And also what has happened, what is very much being developed right now, is that all the things that we then put into the systems as coding in order to make it your proprietary systems, now these are being produced as something we call extensions. Now extensions are a way to produce programming which automatically is able to shift to another solution, and you can also create business logics that you can use on different systems by making it an extension. So every time we do a piece of coding, we actually don't do anything to the base code. So you can change the base code, or you can reuse the business logic in other parts and process along the way. Why is that actually relevant to us? Well, it's relevant to us because if we can free ourselves of the data and present it to users where they actually need it, we can also use different means of transportation. So to one user, we can have a traditional app, we can have a traditional Windows client serving that user. Then we could have another user on a tablet somewhere having their data presented in email form or produced in or shown in an email app. But both of them are on the same base. It's the same code, it is the same system, it is the same service providing it. It just presents two different types of view to two different types of users. So basically, if we look at what we currently have, we typically have with most of the customers the Dynamics 365 platform. We have an Office platform. Some of you are utilizing Azure for, say, for instance, virtual machines, or maybe even Azure services for scanners and such. And you probably also have your own business apps and data. What Microsoft has then provided over the last couple of years is a lot of data connectors, AI builders, and common data services that can actually tie these things together so that we can put things like Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agents into your system and have them work with you instead of just adding new systems. They just automatically, when being introduced to the system, they become one. They are not siloed. They reuse the data that has been entered. They are able to see across platforms. And this is done with little or no coding at all. Power BI is a great example of that, because if we look at Power BI, we typically look at it as okay, this is something we need to, because we need business intelligence or we need business insights. But basically what Microsoft now has done is that they have produced both a business intelligence tool where you can have a traditional dashboard showing your data, but the same data or the same elements can be reused within the Business Central. They can be reused within within different areas as well. You can present different users with different views. This can typically be very it can be very sweet, so to say, to have this functionality, because if you want to present data to, say, a salesperson, you would very much like to show things like items sold, you like to show opportunities and stuff like that. Now, if it's somebody from booking which is in there, you give them another type of information. If it's finance, you'll say, how about late payments? How about cash flow and so on? So although that they are looking at the same data, you would like to present them with different views. And these Power BI reports that goes into Business Central now are the same one that goes into the dashboard. So again, it just presents the data in different views for different users. Again, with zero coding. So it's a very beautiful finesse. Also, we have been given the ability to use Power Apps, and we are doing so very much in the food industry currently. We do this for all types of information. This can be transport, it can be quality control. Again, an easy way to take the same data and present it to another user on another platform. Again, Microsoft provides a platform that you yourself can use. If you point your data set to items, it will automatically pick up the metadata and present you with a screen that contains the first information. You can take it from there. And this also means that you can take your data and you can then provide it or enrich it with something else. If you are transporting goods, it would be a great thing when you are actually at the customer side that you're only shown orders for that customer. And if you use the mobile phone's GPS, it will know where you are and therefore present the data for you that you actually need. So you can take all your data and combine them with other devices' capabilities and enrich your data very easily, very easily. So this also means that you can visualize your data differently for different users without actually changing anything within your system. And again, as these information then say are typed in from a tablet or mobile phone, it automatically are validated within the Business Central as it was typed in through a regular client. So although that you enriches the system and you broadens the way that data goes into the system, your security, your maintenance, your set of data, your data rules are the same, and the system will obey the rules you set. It will obey the security, and the user will have the exact same rights, no matter which platform they use. So that is one great advantage that we see within this new capabilities that we have with the Microsoft system. One very interesting thing we have been shown lately are the virtual agents. Now, these are a way to again use a combination of your data and artificial intelligence. What you can do with this is that you can make chatbots. You can have that on a Facebook site. You can have it on your website. You can have your client asking for information about specific orders. You can validate your users. You can send them text messages to their mobile phones. You can have people inquiring about quotes and things like that, and it can be completely automated. What you do is that you teach the bot say 2 or 3 different functions by a bit like with the avocados. You give a lot of examples on how would people normally ask for this information. Hi, could I please have 3 tables? Could I inquire to purchase 4 chairs, whatever? And this then gets actually created directly into an order within Business Central, and it actually works. We also see companies starting out to use these technologies in very different ways, and also combining their solutions with other solutions that are incoherent. For Lakrish, the Danish company that produced these beautiful tasting sweets, Lakrish by Bülow, we helped make a small implementation where we are actually using Power Automate, which is the last of the 4 elements that are showed on the first screen, to take orders in from Amazon and change that into order lines within their NAV solution. How we do that is that it's zero coding. We have these snippets, which is in a graphical interface, and you pick these snippets and you tell them what to do. When the file arrives, pick this file, put it into this XML, read it, produce it, and then go in, and then just step by step, you can actually just graphically create your own proprietary system that will ensure that when an order from Amazon comes into the system, it becomes an order line in NAV. It sounds simple. It's not really, of course. There's a learning curve, but it actually works. And this is done completely from standard solution. So you don't have to do anything else to make the system that picks up the order. You'll have to do something else to produce it within NAV, because there might be special regulatives you have to obey to. There are rules for how to take items into the inventory again and stuff like that. You always have to think of that, of course. So remember this. This was the slide that Robert showed you early on, and they cover and uses a lot of these technologies, and so do we. And the good thing when you actually combine forces, Microsoft, Foodware, and Notora, is that we start covering the last parts, making us a quite complete supplier of Microsoft products to the market. And we have this huge advantage that we know the industry, we know Foodware, and we know the Microsoft platform, and we can help you be successful in this area. I think that was our time. I'm afraid I actually spent 5 minutes of it more. I'm sorry for that.